And Conard is former managing director at Bain Capital, author of the book Unintended Consequences. Okay, Conard, I want to start with you. Dodd-Frank did not prevent this big Goldman Sachs mistake. Lord knows what's out there. What is Mitt Romney's response going to be? What should his response be? You're a Bain Capital financier. What's up with this? If Dodd-Frank didn't stop it, where should we go?
Well, I think we have to recognize that the losses that J.P. Morgan is incurring did not cause the financial crisis. A 30% drop in real estate prices caused the financial crisis, and that led institutional depositors to withdraw their money from the banks. And if we don't solve that problem, we're going to have 10 years of slow growth and high unemployment. Has the Obama administration done anything to solve that problem? They've done very little. Dodd-Frank does very little to solve that problem.
All right, Dodd-Frank does very little to solve that problem. Doesn't solve too big to fail, that's for sure. So, Michael Steele, let me ask you this. On this network, Austin Goolsbee, who was Mr. Obama's top economic advisor, so he says the economy, regrettably, he says, is only growing at 2%, and that's not going to create jobs. So I ask you, isn't that the real issue? Not whether Bain Capital closed down a little steel mill after trying to keep it open for 10 years, not really the Goldman Sachs issue, but or the J.P. Morgan issue, isn't it about jobs and the economy? Isn't that still the issue?
It's very much the issue, and will be straight through the summer and fall. And the reality of it is the administration still has yet to put together a comprehensive effort that would allow the market to respond in a way that would create jobs. This is not, you have beat this horse so many times, it's turned a different shade of blue. I mean, the reality is you've got to trust the go-getters, the entrepreneurs, the risk takers to go out there. The Bain Capitals of the world are the safety net. They're the ones who come in and try to manage and fix those that have fallen down or trying to get back up on their feet. And sometimes the lights go out for some of those countries. You're never too big to fail, as J.P. Morgan Chase has proven. So all the overregulation, all the heavy-handed, all the, oh, we got to investigate more is good. Soundbite is great on the view, but the reality of it is small business owners, the men and women who are the backbone of this economic engine, still don't trust this government and certainly this administration's policies with respect to their ability to risk their capital to create those jobs.
See, Harry Melbourne, I think Michael Steele's right. It's the small businessmen on Main Street. But Obama's got a Wall Street problem, Harry. You know that. They've been walking away because their wives are so angry at Obama calling their husbands fat cats, so they're not giving money anymore. That includes, by the way, the great Jamie Dimon, who's been kind of on the ropes attacking. We don't know whether he's going to go back to Obama or whether he'll switch to Romney. Harry, what's Obama going to do here? If he's too tough, he's going to lose all his Wall Street money, and he needs the money, Harry, because you know what? This is a darn close race that he could lose.
Yeah. Well, you know, Larry, a lot of Americans are obese, so when you call people fat, you always risk offending the voters.
That's why their wives are so pissed off. You know that. That was a huge mistake he made.
I will come right at the very first question you asked at the top of the show, and I think it is a core question, and that is, how does this kind of thing happen with Dodd-Frank in place? And one of the answers, and it relates to the bank's conduct, is that the Volcker rule in Dodd-Frank doesn't even begin until July 21st of this year. It is not officially on the books. That's because of extra time that the banks have requested to get in all of their exceptions and requests heard in the regulatory process. If that sounds like too long, if that sounds like too much regulatory action before real action, that is partly because of the financial community's desires here. Now, the big question from a regulatory framework is this risk reduction hedging, or is it something else? Because if you inject a lot of risk and then claim it's risk reduction, well, the average person on the street says that sounds funny to me.
Okay, but right. I don't want to get too down in the technical weeds. What I want to know, let me come back to Edward Conard. It's not enough for Mitt Romney to say that the bill was wrong, that Dodd-Frank was wrong. Because that sounds like all these rich guys on Wall Street are going to have their way, and they're going to do what Goldman did, which is make, really it was a $100 billion investment, was it not? That's a big number. And they lost $2 billion and was still counting. In other words, Edward, your pal Mitt Romney has to come up with a position that makes some sense, that doesn't sound like he's catering to all his Wall Street buddies. How does he do that, Edward?
I think Obama, if he wants to get reelected, he's going to have to grow this economy more than he has. And vilifying the banks, vilifying successful risk takers, loading, threatening successful risk takers with significantly higher taxes. There's just no way that's going to produce the kind of growth that will be required to get him to reelected. So he can go down this path, but J.P. Morgan is a red herring. It doesn't solve the problem. He won't get the growth, and he won't get elected if he doesn't get the growth.
But Michael Steele, I'm sorry, I'm down to 30, 40 seconds. Oh, Romney's got to have a position, because then people are going to say he's catering to his fat cats. He's got to have a Dodd-Frank position. He can't let J.P. Morgan get away with this, can he?
That's a good question. I think we want to see a little bit more of what's behind the J.P. Morgan veil. I think that Romney has positioned himself, in my estimation, pretty well so far in this thing. He's sort of taken the above board, looking to the future to build those jobs back into the economy. So I think there's still a little bit more to unfold here. We'll see, to the earlier point about the vocal rule and whether that gets in. So Romney's okay on this issue, I think
we got Democratic fat cats versus Republican fat cats. It's great fun. We're going to see who's going to win. Ari Melber, Michael Steele, Edward Conard, thank you very much, gentlemen. Tomorrow night, controversial.